What do you think it's going to take for the quote unquote crypto world to completely blur the line with the non-crypto world, and it's less about is that a crypto project or not a crypto project, and it's just is that something that users are going to use?
Yeah, I think we haven't. This is a really hard part. Okay, so what I always say is we figured out how to create crypto assets. We figured out how to distribute them and sell them through these new forms of capital formation. We figured out how to speculate on them, right? Like most of the quote unquote infrastructure, the picks and shovels people are investing in our exchanges. It's about financial speculation. What we haven't figured out yet is how to utilize this stuff. And what we haven't figured out yet is the specificity between proof of stake protocol A, proof of stake protocol B. Like what is like a fork, right? A fork is a very specific tool that you use for a very specific thing. What's the specificity for something like Bitcoin versus something like Zcash or Monero or Dash, right? That specificity narrative hasn't really started to evolve yet because no one's really using this stuff. So I wrote this post back in March of 2018 called Drowning in Tokens. And my whole premise was that what we're doing right now is we're just pumping out a ton of supply, but there's no demand. There's artificial demand and speculative demand, but there's no utility demand. And without a real demand function, you can't really model growth. And that's the problem. Until we find natural demand for this stuff, it's very hard to see where the future might go. We can have ideas, but we haven't seen that many projects reach the mass market and start to eat away at the market share of payments companies or to generate an entirely new type of demand. We just haven't seen that yet. And that's what's interesting to me. And it goes back to like these concepts that have been around in the business school community. Sorry, where I come from for a while, like adoption curves, the innovation S curve, right? It's really trying to think about we're so early. We're either so early or we're so late in the adoption curve. I actually don't know anymore. Like maybe the total addressable market for Bitcoin is really small. Maybe that's just a reality. And I think in its current iteration, the total addressable for market for Bitcoin is actually quite small because it's too hard to use, right? There are a limited number of people who have the competency and the capacity and frankly the interest of using it in its current iteration. So then it's technical innovation, but also product innovation that creates a larger addressable market. And I don't think we've really started to think through that yet. People had ideas like when earn.com, back when it was 21, came out with their initial idea. That was a cool idea at the time, right? Like I actually thought that could have been an interesting way to spread adoption. And I know people laugh at the idea of mining with a toaster. I think that's kind of the narrative that stuck. But it was actually a really cool idea. It was just way too early. And the form factor, the 21 computer, was way too hard. And I think they realized that and they were like, this was a great idea, but probably like
too early.
10 years too early. Yeah.